Okay, so imagine a woman, okay? She has nothing to her name, no family name, no money, no connections, and she just decides one day that, okay, I am going to claw my way, okay? I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to the top of one of the most rigid and hypocritical social systems in history. And she nearly does it. She nearly gets her goal. She nearly climbs her way to the top. Nearly. Remember, nearly. But she nearly does this. Not through being good, not through being a kind person, not through being nice, and not through even luck. She does this just because she's so ambitious that she nearly gets to where she's going. This is Miles Library, and today we are going to be doing a deep dive into Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. I consider this one of the greatest novels I've read in my childhood. Like, it's so good. And that woman, she is Becky Sharp, and she has been living in my head rent free since my childhood. Okay, she is amazing, and though she's amazing with her ambition, she's also kind of a flawed character. We're going to get into a character and everything that has to do with Vanity Fair in a few minutes. Welcome to Miles Library. Let's get started. So firstly, we're going to talk about the author, because without the author of the story wouldn't exist. So, William Makepeace Thackeray was born in 1811 in Calcutta, sent back to England at the age of 6 after his father's death. So, I'm trying to understand something now. Was he sent back to England on his own at the age of 6 years old? That is very, 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 very crazy, okay? And educated at Cather House in Cambridge, where he gambled away most of his inheritance. So he gambled most of his inheritance away in college, okay? He tried out in Paris, tried law, and turned to journalism, writing satirical sketches for Punch and Father's magazine under pseudonyms, sharp wit, sharper observation, but no name recognition yet. So firstly, he wrote stories under pseudonyms. He didn't use his real name, so he was writing all these articles for all these magazines without using his real name to keep his identity a secret, I guess, which I think is very, very smart. Okay, so he was writing for Punch and this other magazine, which is crazy, and he was also writing these very, very sharp observational magazines, which are nice. Okay, so his personal life collapsed early. His wife Isabella suffered a breakdown after their third child in 1840 and never recovered. Wow, that's sad. Thackeray was effectively a widower, raising daughters alone. In 1847, publishing a monthly serial installment under his own name for the first time, he released Vanity Fair. Overnight, he became one of the most famous writers in England. He illustrated the novel himself, full creative control over the vision. He died in 1863 at the age of 52, having left behind a novel still adapted for film and television today. Which is, I think, is very, very impressive, because I didn't know anything about this man when I was first reading this book, and learning about him. His life genuinely was sad. Honestly, his life was sad, and I feel bad for him losing his father and his wife. I feel bad for him, but he wrote one of the greatest novels I have ever read in my entire life, and I think that is a great achievement that his book is still recognized today. Okay, his book is recognizable so much that somebody sits somewhere and tries to make a YouTube video about it. I might not be a big YouTuber, but for me to just, I've read this guy's book as a child, and his book stuck with me. I read his book when I was 8 years old, and it stuck with me till today, which is crazy. Okay, it's crazy. I read so many books as a child and I barely remember any of them, but his book stuck with me, and I kept looking for that book for years. So we're gonna get into the next part of Vanity Fair and its history. Okay, we're gonna get into what is Vanity Fair all about. Let's go. So, what is Vanity Fair? Published in monthly installments from 1847 to 1848, readers consumed it the way we consume TV episodes, with weight and theories between releases. The full title, Vanity Fair, a novel without a hero. That subtitle does a lot of work. Don't go looking for a protagonist, because everybody is compromised, and that is the point. The title comes from John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, where Vanity Fair is a place of worldly temptation and sin. Thackeray's argument, English society in the 80s is that fair. Everybody performing, everybody selling something, everybody chasing something hollow. The novel follows Becky Sharp and Amelia across roughly 18 years, from about 1814 to 1832. Through their intertwined lives, Thackeray satirizes the aristocracy, the merchant class, the military, marriage, money, parenting, and friendship. Nothing escapes. So this is basically telling us that the illustration of this world in the England in the 80s is basically the Vanity Fair. It is full of temptation. Everybody was basically acting. Everybody was putting on a performance. They were selling something. They were buying something. Okay, so nobody was genuine to each other. Okay, everybody was putting on a performance. And the Vanity Fair, a novel without a hero, don't come into this book looking for a protagonist because you won't find one. We'll go through everybody's lives from Amelia, Sydney to Becky Sharp. Okay, we go through their lives, their stories, their history, and their future. So there is no protagonist. Okay, every single person in this book has a point of reference. So let's get into the next part of this video. Act 1. The beginning of Vanity Fair, the novel without a hero. We open at Miss Pinkerton's Academy for Young Ladies. Two girls are finishing school. Amelia Sidley is everything society wants in a young woman. Sweet, gentle, obedient, wealthy family, comfortable future, and an informal fiancé in the handsome army officer George Osborne, whom she adores without question. Becky Sharp is everything else. Daughter of an alcoholic art teacher and a French opera dancer. With no money and no connections, she worked her way through school as a teacher's assistant. On graduation, she handed the traditional dictionary gift. She throws it out of the carriage window. That single image tells you everything you need to know about Becky Sharp. She doesn't care about education, she cares about her social standing. At least that's what I think. Becky goes home with Amelia before taking up a governess position and immediately targets Amelia's brother, George Sidley. Wealthy, pompous, insecure, and working for the East Indian Company, she nearly secures a proposal. Nearly. But George sees through her and sabotages it by mocking and embarrassing Josh. Becky walks away with nothing. She moves on to the Crawley estate. Sir Pete Crawley, the family head, is a wealthy but crude, cheap, ill-mannered old baronet. Becky charms him anyway, along with his son, Rawdon, and his wealthy half-sister, Miss Crawley, who controls a significant fortune. When Sir Pete's wife dies, he proposes to Becky. Title, money, estate, everything she has been working toward. She has to refuse because she has already secretly married Rawdon Crawley, his son. This is the tragic irony of Becky's life in miniature. She is always one step ahead of everyone except fate. She married Rawdon expecting to win over Miss Crawley and inherit through him. Instead, Miss Crawley is furious at the secret wedding and cuts Rawdon off entirely. The fortune Becky was counting on is gone. So, Becky is a woman that doesn't really care about love. She doesn't feel anything for anybody. She only cares about whoever can give her the benefit she's looking for, which is social status, money, and comfort, life, luxury. She wants to get to the top. She wants to be the young lady, okay? She wants to be a young lady, and she will charm anybody to do it. First was Amelia's brother. She charmed him, okay? She nearly charmed him, but George, Amelia's fiancé, saw through her facade and he blocked it, okay? He didn't allow her to be able to charm Josh. Or Joss, or whatever that guy's name is. Then she went on to the Crawley estate where she was supposed to be a governess. Instead of her to focus on being a governess, she decided to charm everybody in the Crawley estate. The Sir Pete Crawley, who is apparently a very disgusting man. He's disgusting, he's irritating, he's just a very horrible person. But she didn't really care about that because he has the money, he has the wealth, he has the status, he has the social standing to give her what she's looking for. Social standing. She also charms his son, who is an absolute piece of crap like his father. They are the same thing, they're the same thing. She charmed his half sister, who is like Rowdy's aunt. She charmed her because she's also a very rich young lady who can give her influence. But the irony of it all is that when she charmed all of them, Mr. Pitt fell in love with her, but she went to go and secretly marry Roddy, expecting to get the money, the inheritance that she was supposed to get from the half sister of Mr. Pitt. But unfortunately for her, by secretly marrying Rodley, she lost the chance to get that inheritance, and she also lost the chance to, get married to Mr. Pitts and secure her future as a young lady. That was a very secure future, but she went the other way, and that dramatically ruined her entire plan. Okay, that was like basically the beginning of her downfall. Like those decisions, those choices were the beginning of her downfall. So now we're going to get into what Amelia's life was like. Let's go. So, on the other hand, while Becky was busy reveling in her failed plans and failed life, Amelia and George are engaged. But George's snobbish father forbids the match after Mr. Sidley's business collapses and the family goes bankrupt. George wavers. He's a horrible, horrible person. He wavers. Of course he wavers. William Dobbin. Take that name, take that William Dobbin and put it at the back of your head, because that name is going to be very, very significant in the future. William Dobbin, George's best friend, a tall, awkward, quiet, noble officer, secretly in love with Amelia for years, pushes George to marry her anyway, because he loves her enough to want her happiness, even at his own expense. George marries Amelia almost immediately after. Napoleon escapes Elba and regiments are called to war. So one of the first things that absolutely annoyed me about William Dobbin is, what do you mean you want her happiness? Okay, you want her happiness, you love this person, you want her happiness, but the person she was supposed to get engaged to because of her family went bankrupt. He wavers. He doesn't want to marry her anymore. He doesn't see the benefits. His family does not approve of it. Her life is going to be difficult if she marries this person. And he says because you love her. What the heck, bro? That was one of the most annoying parts in this part. I was like, what the hell? Okay, what the hell? And it seems that Amelia, what really made me love Becky Sharp in this entire novel was the fact that she's such a sharp and ambitious woman, and she doesn't let her emotions get in the way of anything she's doing. She's overly ambitious. She's dumb. Of course, she's dumb. But she's ambitious, and that ambition is what makes her such an interesting character. But Amelia, on the other hand, oh my goodness, she's a simp. Like the book makes it very, very clear. She's a simp. She's so simpish. She's a simp. Okay, she's so devoted to this person. The person that wavered when your family went bankrupt. The person whose family doesn't want to support you because your family doesn't have the financial stability they once had. That doesn't tell you something. That is that financial stability that your family once had that is after. That doesn't tell you anything. And I think you are a very, very foolish woman, Amelia. No offense. No, actually, there is offense in my statement, and I want you to take offense. You are a fictional character. You don't understand what I'm talking about, but I am offended. Okay? So then the war begins. I'm not sure whether I'll get copyright. I don't know. Maybe I'll get. I don't know. Maybe I'll get in trouble for saying that name. But okay, let's go and let's get into the next part of the story, Act 2. Okay, Act 2, Brussels and Waterloo. The Brussels chapter are among the most famous in Victorian literature. The city fills with officers and families, balls, and gossip. Everybody pretending the war isn't coming while the cannon fire gets closer. Becky, Rowden are there, Amelia and George are there, and Dobbin is there. The whole gang is here. Becky is in her element, walking every social gathering, charming generals and aristocrats who can advance Rowden's career. George writes Becky a romantic note at a ball, suggesting they run away together. Becky does not go, but she keeps the note. Waterloo comes, the men march out, George Osmond gets his life evaporated in action, Amelia is left a widow, pregnant, penniless, and shattered. Rowden survives, genuinely brave in battle. Becky, watching the soldiers return, is already calculating her next move. is one of the things that pissed me off. Okay, this part is one of the things that pissed me off, because if Dobbin had not had that guy marry Amelia, then she wouldn't be a widow right now. Okay, she wouldn't be in this issue. And that guy had the audacity. George had the audacity, the girls. Okay, the gall, the mind. Okay, the mind to write Becky a letter telling her they should run away, leaving Amelia. Okay, like, bro, what? This is all Dobbin's fault. If he had wavered and decided not to marry her, Amelia wouldn't be in this fix right now. Okay, it is all Dobbin's fault. I genuinely dislike that guy right now. So that happens. Obviously, Becky does not go, because that is not even in her best interest at all, and she genuinely doesn't care about that. I love that about Becky. This was one of the parts that I genuinely made me respect Becky. Okay, she's a very calculating woman, but her calculation does not calculate what destiny is calculating, unfortunately for her. So Rowden survives, which is okay. She's a cowardly man before, but he survives the battle. That is impressive. So then we get to Act 3, and apparently Becky, watching all the soldiers coming back, is already calculating her next move. Let's see what her calculation gets her into now. And let's see whether this calculation of hers is going to save her from the clutches of destiny. Let's get to Act 3. Act 3. Log Middle. The novel jumps forward several years. The two women's lives have diverged completely. Amelia is poor after her father's bankruptcy. She has a son, Georgie, whom she adores. She builds her life around the memory of George, as though he were a saint, despite the fact that he was vain, selfish, and writing flirtatious notes to her best friend's days before he died. Grief doesn't care about accuracy, neither do I. Dobbin remains in the background, still devoted, quietly arranging money for Amelia without her knowledge. Waiting for what exactly? Let's keep going. Eventually, George's father, who cuts George off after marrying Amelia, softens, because young Georgie looks exactly like his father. He offers to raise the boy with all the privileges of the husband name provides. Amelia, in one of the book's most affecting scenes, lets him go, loving her son more than she loves her own need for him. So basically, he's going to raise the son while leaving the mother in poverty. What pieces up? Let's keep going, guys. Let's keep going. I'm going to lose my shit if I keep reading this book, okay? And this isn't a very sad thing, because Amelia is so dumb. Why are you so dumb? Becky arrives in London without money, with a gambling husband constantly in debt, and a son she largely ignores. She talks high society, charms, and maneuvers her way into high society. She performs roles of witty, charming woman so convincingly that people start forgetting she isn't actually one of them. The peak of her ascent is a relationship with the Marquis of Steyne, one of the wealthiest, most powerful men in England. Old, not kind, not good, but enchanted by Becky, and willing to use an influence to open doors for her. Whether Becky feels anything for anyone in this stretch of the novel is genuinely left ambiguous, and that ambiguity is central to her character. So we get to the next part that annoys the living shit out of me. Hello! Dobbin. What is Dobbin waiting in the shadows for? Why is he waiting in the shadows like a little demon for? What is he waiting in the shadows for? Oh my goodness. What is he waiting in? Like, okay, what do you mean waiting in the shadows? Waiting in the shadows for what exactly? I don't get it. For what exactly? No, seriously, for what exactly? He's waiting in the shadows, okay? So, like a demon, like a demon, okay? And Becky, okay. Amelia is continuing to be a simp. She's continuing to be an annoying simp, and this is why I will forever hate her character as long as I remember Vanity Fair. You can hate on me in the comments. I don't really care. I really care, but like honestly, what the heck, bro? Why is she simping after this man after he died? Like, this guy was a very selfish person that didn't care about you. His family cut you off when he married you. That is enough to tell you that, okay, these people don't like me. Let me move front. But no, she's a dirty simp. Okay, this kind of people that couldn't support you, that he couldn't get his family support you. He didn't leave anything for you. You left you penniless, broke, and you were still simping after this man even after his death. You didn't move on with your life. Bro, come on now. Are you telling me William Dobbin is standing in the shadows waiting? Waiting for what exactly? And I absolutely love the fact that Becky has moved from the pit to the stein. Okay, she has moved from the pit of mud to a pig, an even bigger pig. Like, she's just moving from one dirty old man to another. Let's get to the next part of the story, because if I keep going, I'm going to spend the entire video crashing out without explaining the rest of the story. So let us get to the scandal, Becky's fall. Radon Crowley isn't smart, but he isn't without instincts. He starts noticing the expensive gifts Becky has, money she can't account for, the way Lord Stein looks at her. He is arrested for debt, a recurring situation given how far beyond their means he and Becky live. Pathetic. This time he isn't bailed out immediately. When he finally gets home, he finds Becky alone with Lord Stein. Dressed beautifully, wearing diamonds, gift from Stein, Weldon strikes Stein, tears diamonds from Becky's throat and leaves. I actually remember this scene vividly in my memory from the book of Vanity Fair I read when I was 8. This was one of these scenes that stuck in my brain like super glue. It stuck to my brain and I can still remember the illustration in that book. It was beautiful. One of the scenes I absolutely loved the most. And I found Becky the most interesting character in the entire book, more than Amelia, who I still think is a simp. Hot take. He's a simp. Okay. So this is actually a very terrible thing to do. Okay. The scandal spreads through London society. Stein, humiliated, uses his influence to lock Becky out of every door she spent years prying open. Radon takes their son and leaves, accepting a conveniently timed posting abroad. Becky is alone and broke. Thackeray leaves it deliberately ambiguous. Whether Becky was actually having an affair with Stein, she insists she wasn't. The narrator neither confirms it. Either way, what's certain is that Becky was using Stein. Whether she crossed the line or simply that everyone here assumed she had, has no clear answer. So basically, Becky's fans has flopped again. Because of her choices, just keep flopping like dominoes upon each other. And honestly, I don't feel bad for her, okay? So let's get on to the next part of the story because I'm getting tired. And then we're going to get into Amelia's part of the story. This part is going to make me angry. But I have to do this for you guys because that is basically the point of this entire video. So let's get into Amelia's long road. While Becky burns bright and then burns down, Amelia has been in her own quiet purgatory. Years pass. Georgie grows up in the Osborne household with money and education. Amelia lives modestly. Dobbin returns from India, still in love, still patient, still a simp, still waiting. He and Amelia fit perfectly. Simps! Okay, Dobbin finally breaks. He has spent years watching Amelia refuse a steady, genuine love because she's too busy worshipping the memory of a man who was flirting with her best friend days before he died. Oh my god, oh my god, I am getting annoyed. I am getting so annoyed right now. And Dobbin, who is worth far more, has gotten nothing for it. Dobbin tells Amelia plainly he has given her years of his life and she has never once truly seen him. He walks away. Who asked you to? Nobody. Who begged you to? Nobody. You better move, bro. Only then does Amelia start to recon with herself. She travels to Europe with her father and her brother Joss, back from India, heavier and more cowardly than ever. Then they run into Becky's shop. Oh my god, this one makes me want to give her a ass whooping. Then we get to the ending. The ending. Becky has spent years since her fall, drifting through Europe, gambling dens, seaside resorts, the fringes of society. Still charming, still surviving, but running out of room. When she encounters Amelia and Joe, she shows Amelia the notes. George's notes from the Brussels ball, proposing they run away together. Proof that the man Amelia had spent her life mourning was not the man she believed him to be. Amelia is devastated and then freed. She writes to Dobbin. He returns. Oh my god, what girl? What the heck? You have been rejecting this man in memory of the useless guy you have been mourning. Then you finally go over the useless guy you were mourning. Then you now go back to the person. Your plan B, bro. Oh my god, he married and have a daughter, a quiet real end rather than a thunderbolt romance. I do not think this is any kind of romance. This annoys me. Meanwhile, Josh falls back under Becky's influence. She gets him to take out large life insurance policy. He dies shortly after under circumstances the author never explains. Becky collects it. She ends the novel doing charity work, respectable again in a small way, selling relics at the church fair, performing goodness as she has always performed everything else. The final image is Thackeray closing the puppet box, reminding the reader directly that these are puppets and this is a show, before asking us the famous question: which of us is happy in this world? Which of us has his desire? Or having it, is it satisfied? So that is the end, and that is where I'm going to stop today for Vanity Fair. I'm going to do a separate episode on the themes of the story. This has been your girl Mal, and I absolutely love reading this book. The Becky Sharp part, but the Amelia and Dobbin part absolutely annoyed me. I will do a separate video telling you guys why I feel so annoyed about this too. So thank you very much for staying this long. If you actually stayed this long and watched it to the end of the video and tolerated my ranting, it has been your girl Mal, and thank you for coming to Mal's Library. I will see you in the next episode and my next ranting episode. Like, subscribe, follow, show me some support if you want to. No stress, no force. Bye.